Hospitals are supposed to be safe places, quiet hallways, doctors rushing between rooms, nurses speaking softly. But on this particular morning, something happened that left an entire hospital frozen in disbelief. A police German shepherd sprinted down the hospital corridor, carrying a black garbage bag clenched tightly in his jaws. Nurses screamed, patients gasped, and Officer Daniels, the dog's handler, ran after him, shouting, "Rex, stop. Drop it. What's in the bag?" But Rex didn't stop. He ran with desperate urgency, as if time itself were running out. At first, everyone thought he had simply grabbed trash. But then they noticed something strange. The way he barked desperately. The way Rex refused to let anyone come near. "What is he carrying?" someone shouted. Nobody understood what the dog was doing, or why he had brought that bag inside. When Officer Daniels finally caught up and opened the bag, his face went pale. The hospital fell silent, because what Rex had brought into the hospital wasn't trash. It was something far more terrifying, something that exposed a shocking, hidden truth inside the hospital. Stay with us, because this story will shock you. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Hospitals are usually filled with a steady rhythm of routine, footsteps echoing through polished hallways, nurses checking charts, and patients waiting quietly for their names to be called. But on this particular afternoon, that rhythm shattered like glass. The automatic doors at the main entrance swung open with a violent slam, startling everyone nearby. A German shepherd, Rex, a seasoned police K9 known for his discipline, burst inside, sprinting down the corridor with startling speed. Clenched firmly between his jaws was a large black garbage bag, the plastic crinkling with every powerful stride. At first, no one understood what they were seeing. A few visitors gasped. A nurse froze mid-step, nearly dropping her clipboard. An older patient sitting in a wheelchair blinked in disbelief, muttering, "Is that a police dog?" But Rex didn't slow down. Not for the nurse shouting behind him, not for the startled hospital staff stepping aside, and not even for Officer Daniels, his own handler, who ran in seconds later, breathless and shouting commands. "Rex, stop. Drop the bag." Daniel's voice echoed through the hallway, sharp and urgent. But Rex refused. His ears were pinned back, his breathing harsh. His paws slammed against the floor as he bolted past stunned doctors and worried patients. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Daniels had worked with Rex long enough to know the difference between excitement and fear, and this wasn't excitement. This was pure distress. A young nurse, still in shock, stepped aside quickly as Rex barreled past her. "Why is he carrying a garbage bag? What's inside?" she whispered to another nurse beside her. No one knew, and Rex wasn't giving anyone time to think about it. Officer Daniels pushed through the crowd, every muscle tight with tension. Rex was the most obedient dog he had ever trained. Calm under pressure, steady in chaos, never breaking command unless something was extraordinarily dangerous. But today, Rex wasn't listening to anything. "Move back. Give the dog space." Daniels called out as he ran, but people were already pressed against the walls, clearing the path instinctively. The atmosphere shifted, charged with confusion and growing fear. A security guard standing near the nurse's station spotted the bag and frowned deeply. "Why would a police dog be carrying trash into a hospital?" he muttered. Then, louder, "Does anyone know what's happening?" No one answered. Everyone was too focused on Rex, his desperate pace, his frantic determination, the strange way he looked from side to side as if searching for something or someone. Daniels finally gained some distance, trying to close in, but Rex whipped around a corner and took off again, forcing him to sprint harder. "Rex, heel." "That's an order," he shouted. But Rex didn't heel. He ran. He ran like time itself was slipping away. Nurses exchanged fearful glances. Doctors paused. Patients stared wide-eyed. The entire hospital seemed to hold its breath as Rex rushed deeper into the building, guided by something no one else could see. And Daniels knew this much. If Rex was breaking protocol, it meant that whatever he was carrying in that black garbage bag was something that couldn't wait another second. Rex shot around the corner like a streak of lightning, his paws skidding slightly on the polished hospital floor as the mysterious black garbage bag swung wildly from his jaws. The hall he entered was narrower, lined with patient rooms and supply closets, and filled with startled faces that turned instantly toward the commotion. A nurse in teal scrubs gasped when Rex nearly brushed against her leg. She clutched her chest, eyes wide. What on earth? Someone stop that dog. But stopping Rex was impossible. Officer Daniels sprinted after him, breathing hard, his radio bouncing against his vest with every stride. Rex, stop. Drop it. His voice carried urgency, but Rex didn't even glance back. His focus was absolute, driven by instinct and something far stronger than fear. 2 additional security officers joined the chase, one tall and stern-faced, the other younger and visibly confused. Why is he running? What's he carrying? The younger one asked between breaths. Daniels didn't respond. He didn't have an answer. Farther down the hall, a doctor stepped out of a patient room right in Rex's path. Whoa, hold on, the doctor shouted, stumbling back as Rex bolted past, the bag bumping against the wall. The doctor turned to the officers. Is this some kind of drill? No, Daniels replied sharply, without slowing. Not even close. The tension inside the building thickened as voices echoed from every direction. Patients peeked from their doors, nurses exchanged anxious glances, and staff members rushed aside as Rex propelled himself deeper into the hospital maze, moving with purpose none of them understood. Block the exits, one officer shouted from behind. He might be heading outside. No, Daniels countered. He's looking for something in here. Another corner, another skid, another wave of startled cries. A group of nurses working at a nearby station stood frozen as Rex bounded past, but one of them noticed something the others didn't. Rex wasn't running wild. He wasn't panicked. He was directed, focused. His tail was stiff, his eyes sharp, his muscles tight with determination. What is he sniffing for? She murmured. Daniels heard her, and that single question sent a chill through him. Rex never acted without reason. Not once in all the years they'd worked together. If he had chosen this hospital, this hallway, this moment, then whatever was inside that black garbage bag wasn't random. It was a warning, a message, or evidence someone desperately wanted hidden. And Rex was running straight toward the truth. Rex burst through another hallway, but this time he slowed, not because he was tired, but because he had reached a part of the hospital that made his entire body tense. His paws tapped rapidly against the floor, his breathing heavy but controlled, the black garbage bag still clenched tightly in his jaws. Officer Daniels finally caught sight of him. But what froze him wasn't the dog's speed. It was the dog's eyes. Rex wasn't looking around randomly anymore. He wasn't panicking. He wasn't lost. He was tracking something. Daniels stopped mid-stride, chest rising and falling, as he watched Rex lower his head and sniff the air, slow, deliberate, almost trembling. The dog's tail stiffened, muscles coiling like a spring ready to launch. What are you sensing, boy? Daniels whispered, voice barely audible. The 2 security officers, catching up behind him, exchanged uneasy glances. Why did he stop here? One muttered. Rex suddenly growled, low, deep, primal. The kind of growl Daniels had only heard a handful of times in Rex's entire career. The kind that meant, danger is here, right here. A nurse walking nearby halted instantly, fear flickering across her face. Is something in this hallway? She asked shakily. Daniels didn't answer. His attention stayed locked on Rex, whose nose hovered inches from the floor, trailing invisible scent patterns only he could understand. Then Rex jerked his head toward a set of double doors leading into a restricted wing. A wing normally used for storage, and occasionally for temporary containment of controlled medical substances. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. Rex paced toward the doors slowly, each step more tense than the last. The plastic garbage bag rustled as he shifted his jaw, unwilling to drop it for even a second. Whatever was inside, he wanted it protected. Could he be reacting to drugs? One officer whispered. No, Daniel said immediately. This isn't how he reacts to narcotics. How do you know? Because he's not alerting. He's warning. The distinction sent a ripple of tension through everyone present. Rex suddenly froze at the base of the double doors. His entire body went rigid. Then, in an alarming burst of energy, he dropped the garbage bag for the first time and pawed viciously at the crack between the doors, whining in desperation. The officers flinched. The nurse backed up. Daniel's blood ran cold. Rex wasn't searching randomly. He had led them here. "Something's behind those doors," Daniel said, voice grave. Rex barked once, sharp, urgent, unlike anything they'd heard that day. Daniels stepped forward, placing a steadying hand on the dog's back. Rex trembled beneath his palm, not with fear, but with certainty. This wasn't a false alarm. This wasn't a mistake. Rex had followed a scent tied directly to the garbage bag he'd risked everything to carry inside. And whatever waited inside that restricted wing, Rex knew it was connected to a threat no one else had sensed. Not yet. For several long seconds, no one moved. The hallway felt unnaturally silent, as if the air itself had tightened around them. Rex stood rigid at the double doors, refusing to budge, his paw pressed firmly against the metal seam. His eyes, normally calm and steady, were wide, burning with urgency. Officer Daniels swallowed hard and slowly bent to retrieve the black garbage bag Rex had dropped. The plastic crinkled loudly in the quiet hallway, making several nurses flinch. Even with gloves on, Daniels felt something unsettling inside the bag, cold, heavy, and irregular in shape. What's in there?" one nurse whispered, hugging her arms around herself. Daniels didn't answer. Not yet. He lifted the bag carefully, turning it slightly to test its weight. Rex's reaction was immediate. He barked sharply and stepped closer, nudging the bag with his nose as if urging him to hurry. The younger security officer stepped forward. "Sir, should we call the bomb squad?" Before Daniels could respond, Rex growled, not at the officers, but at the bag itself. A rumble from deep within his chest, the kind he used only when something was alive, dangerous, or tainted. "No," Daniels said firmly. "This isn't explosives." "How do you know?" "Because Rex wouldn't bring a live explosive into a crowded hospital." His voice shook slightly. He would have pushed people away, not led them deeper. A nurse gasped. "Then what is it?" Daniels took a deep breath, steadying his hands. Everyone stepped back. The officers and nurses moved several feet away, leaving Daniels alone with the bag, and Rex standing protectively beside him. With slow precision, Daniels loosened the tightly knotted top. The plastic stretched and hissed, the knot resisting, as if whatever was inside wasn't meant to be found. Finally, the knot slipped free. Daniels peeled the bag open. His body went rigid. The color drained from his face. "Oh my God," he whispered. Inside the bag were bundles of medical items, but not the normal kind. There were stolen prescription pads, illegal medication vials, unregistered narcotics, and patient identification cards tied with rubber bands. Paperwork stamped with forged signatures. Labels ripped from legitimate supply boxes. Even small oxygen canisters modified for illegal reuse. Illicit medical contraband. Thousands of dollars worth. Enough for a large-scale operation. Rex whined softly, nudging the bag again, pulling Daniels out of his shock. The nurse nearest to them covered her mouth with trembling hands. Someone brought that into the hospital?" "No," Daniels said hoarsely. "Rex brought it out." The realization hit them all like a blow. This bag wasn't trash someone discarded. It was evidence someone hid, and Rex had intercepted it before it could leave the premises. "Why would a dog bring this inside?" the tall officer asked, voice cracking. "Unless..." He stopped, staring at the restricted double doors. "Unless the person behind this is still in the building," Daniels finished. Rex barked again, loud, sharp, urgent, his focus fixed entirely on the locked doors ahead. His fur bristled, tail rigid, muscles coiled. Something, or someone, was behind those doors. Someone who had been running a secret, illegal operation right under the hospital's nose. Daniels knelt, zipped the bag halfway closed, and looked Rex directly in the eyes. "You found this because you knew we needed to see it, didn't you?" Rex didn't blink. He didn't look away. He simply stepped forward, paw pressed to the doors once more, as if saying, "This isn't the end of what's hidden. This is only the beginning." Daniels stared into the open garbage bag, his mind racing as he tried to process the mountain of illegal material stuffed inside. Every item was wrong. Too wrong to be accidental. The forged prescription slips, the counterfeit labels, the altered medical IDs. It was a collection that no ordinary criminal could assemble. This wasn't petty theft. This was a fully organized operation. A nurse stepped closer, her voice trembling. Those vials, they're restricted. Only certain doctors can access them. Another nurse pointed at the prescription pads. Those serial numbers don't match our hospital's records. They've been duplicated. Daniels lifted one of the stolen medical ID cards. The photo was of a middle-aged patient, a woman who, according to her card, was currently admitted for surgery. But the back of the card had been scraped and rewritten, with new information etched in. These were being used to create fake patient profiles, he murmured. The younger security officer frowned deeply. Fake profiles? For what? Daniels held up a bundle of forged prescriptions. For ordering drugs under false names. The hallway fell silent. A doctor who had joined the group let out a shaky breath. This looks like a prescription diversion ring. Someone here has been stealing legitimate medication, swapping labels, and reselling them on the black market. Another nurse covered her face, horrified. In this hospital? Who would do that? Daniel's eyes drifted toward the restricted doors. Someone who knows the building. Someone with access. He paused. Someone who thought they could hide behind routine. Rex growled low again, stepping protectively between Daniels and the bag, as if sensing the danger more deeply than any human ever could. He nudged the bag gently, then turned to the restricted wing, tail stiff, ears pinned forward. Daniels ran his hand over Rex's back, feeling the tension under the dog's fur. "You knew this wasn't trash," he whispered. "You knew it was evidence." The older security officer kneaded his forehead. But how did Rex even get this bag? And why bring it inside instead of to the squad car? Daniels thought for a moment. Because he didn't find it outside. He pointed toward the double doors. He found it in there. The doctor's eyes widened. Someone inside tried to dispose of it. Maybe they were about to move it out of the building, and Rex intercepted them. Rex barked sharply, as if confirming it. Daniels stood straighter, his jaw tightening. This bag was part of a drop. Someone was moving illegal medical supplies out of the hospital and didn't expect a police dog to be nearby. Another realization struck him. This might not be the entire stash, he said. This could be just one load. One piece of something much bigger. Rex pawed urgently at the door again. Daniels took a step forward. Whatever's happening inside that wing, Rex wants us to see it. And the terrifying truth was becoming clearer. The scam wasn't happening outside the hospital. It was happening from within. Rex stood rigid at the double doors, his body angled forward, every muscle pulled tight like a bowstring ready to snap. His breathing was sharp, focused. He didn't glance at Daniels, didn't react to the surrounding voices. His attention was locked on whatever lay beyond the restricted wing. Daniels exchanged a look with the officers beside him. "We're going in," he said, voice low but firm. One of the nurses hesitated. "That wing isn't used much anymore. Only certain staff have clearance." Rex growled softly at the doors, impatient. That was all the permission Daniels needed. He reached for the handle. It didn't budge. Locked. Rex barked sharply, pawing again, claws scraping against the metal, as if urging them to hurry. His agitation was growing. He wasn't just leading them somewhere. He was fighting the clock. The tall security officer stepped forward. "I'll override it." He swiped his card and entered a code. The electronic lock clicked, and the doors slowly pushed open with a long, echoing creak. Instantly, Rex surged inside. "Rex, slow down," Daniels called, but the dog was already halfway down the dim hallway, nose close to the ground. The restricted wing was nothing like the bustling hospital outside. The lights flickered unevenly. Several rooms were dark. Old equipment carts sat abandoned against the walls. Dust floated in the air, undisturbed for months. Yet Rex moved like he'd been here before. But he hadn't. Daniels hurried after him, heart pounding. The officers followed close behind, their flashlights slicing through the dim corridor. "Why would someone operate from a wing like this?" one officer murmured. To avoid being seen, Daniels replied. No cameras. Fewer employees. Perfect place to store stolen supplies. Rex suddenly stopped near a supply closet door. His body lowered, head tilted, sniffing intensely. Then he growled, a deep, vibrating warning. Daniels approached. What is it, boy? Rex placed his paw on the bottom of the door and whined, anxiously shifting his weight. Daniels grabbed the handle. Also locked. This time, Rex didn't wait. He barked urgently, pacing back and forth, his tail stiff with agitation. This is it, Daniels declared. He's telling us the scam leads here. The tall officer forced the lock open with a shoulder shove. The door burst inward. A stale, chemical smell swept out. Rex pushed past them immediately, heading straight toward a metal cart covered with a blanket. His nose hovered, trembling. Daniels lifted the blanket, and what he saw made his stomach drop. Rex had been right. This room wasn't abandoned. It was the heart of the operation. The blanket slipped from Daniels' hands and fluttered to the floor, revealing the metal cart beneath it. For a moment, no one spoke. Even Rex stood still, ears forward, tail lowered, as if bracing himself for what lay before them. The cart wasn't empty. Stacked across the top shelf were rows of unmarked vials, their labels peeled off. Some were filled with clear liquid, others with yellowish fluid that looked nothing like standard medication. The second shelf held boxes of unused prescription pads, each stamped with false serial codes. And on the bottom shelf, Daniel's eyes widened, were sealed envelopes stuffed with patient ID cards, some belonging to people currently admitted in the hospital. This is unbelievable, whispered the tall officer. It's more than unbelievable, Daniels murmured. It's systematic. A nurse stepped forward hesitantly, her voice trembling. Those vials, they're supposed to be in controlled storage. Only authorized staff can access that medication. Rex sniffed each shelf with intense focus, lingering near the unmarked vials. He whined a soft, distressed sound, then looked up at Daniels, as if begging him to understand the danger he sensed. Daniels lifted one vial carefully. The liquid inside caught the dim hallway light, shimmering faintly. These are either tampered or stolen for resale. He scanned the other items, dread building in his chest. And these prescription pads? They're not duplicates. They're blanks. Someone has been writing false prescriptions from inside this hospital. The younger officer pointed toward the envelopes. Look at the dates on those IDs. Some of these patients were checked in just days ago. The implication was chilling. Someone was taking real patient information, altering it, and using it to order or transport illegal drugs. Rex's ears flattened as he moved toward a small metal cabinet against the wall. He growled, a low warning that made everyone freeze. Daniels hurried over and yanked the door open. Inside were 2 thermal bags, normally used to transport organs or critical medication. But these weren't labeled. Not by the hospital. Daniels unzipped one. His breath caught. Inside were bundles of cash, wrapped tightly in rubber bands. Stacks upon stacks, tens of thousands of dollars. The second bag held forged hospital documents, including false discharge summaries and altered treatment plans. This is a full-blown black market operation, Daniel said, voice hollow. Someone's making a fortune by stealing supplies, altering patient identities, and selling restricted medicine. A cold silence settled over them. Then, Rex suddenly stiffened. His nose twitched, and he turned toward the far corner of the room. There, beside an old supply rack, sat a small rolling bin. It looked ordinary enough, until Rex began pawing at it furiously. What is it now? The young officer asked. Daniels approached cautiously, kneeling beside the bin. Rex whined urgently, pawing harder. Daniels pulled the lid open. Inside lay a torn hospital lab coat, stained with something dark, and beneath it, a security access card, still warm as if recently handled. He flipped it over. His stomach dropped. The name on the card belonged to someone trusted. Someone who had full clearance to this wing. Someone the hospital relied on. A name none of them expected. Rex backed away, growling softly. They weren't dealing with a petty thief. They were facing the mastermind. The officers stared at the stolen access card in stunned silence. Daniels felt its weight in his palm, not just the plastic, but the betrayal attached to it. Someone with full authority had been walking these halls, stealing from the very patients they were supposed to protect. Rex's growl faded into a tense quiet as Daniels slipped the card into an evidence pouch. "We need to find who used this last," he said, standing. "They can't be far." When they stepped out of the storage room, the hallway seemed different, heavier, quieter, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Then someone appeared. A nurse at the far end of the corridor, short, dark hair, blue scrubs, froze the moment she saw the officers emerge. Her eyes flicked from Daniels to the door, behind him, to Rex, still bristling. She swallowed hard. Daniels noticed instantly. "Ma'am," he called calmly. "Everything all right?" The nurse flinched. "I was just checking supplies." But her hands were shaking. Badly. Rex took a single step forward, nose lifted, sniffing the air. His tail stiffened. His ears pointed sharply at her. He didn't bark, but he didn't have to. His entire stance screamed warning. The young security officer exchanged a glance with Daniels. "Sir, she looks pale." The nurse's breathing quickened. "I don't know what's happening. I heard barking, then shouting. So I came to see if anyone needed help." But Daniels watched her eyes. They weren't looking for danger. They were looking for escape. Rex edged closer, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact with her. The nurse stepped back instinctively. "Why is the dog staring at me?" "Because he recognizes something," Daniels said softly. "Something you're carrying. Something you weren't supposed to." Her face drained of color. "I don't know what you're talking about," she whispered, but her voice cracked halfway through. Rex growled, quiet, low, certain. The sound echoed down the empty corridor. And in that moment, everyone understood. This nurse wasn't just frightened by the situation. She was frightened of being caught. The nurse stood rigid against the cold wall, her breath uneven, her hands trembling, so violently she tried to hide them in the folds of her scrubs. The hallway had fallen silent except for the faint hum of overhead lights, and Rex's steady, unblinking growl. Daniels stepped forward slowly, palms open, voice controlled. "Ma'am, we're not here to hurt you. But I need you to tell me what you know." "I don't know anything," she blurted out. "I just came to check supplies. That's all." Rex barked once, sharp, accusing. She jumped. The younger officer crossed his arms. "You're acting like someone who's hiding something." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "No, I'm not. I'm just scared." Daniel's gaze drifted to her ID badge, slightly crooked and clipped on backward. "Not illegal, just unusual." "Did you come from inside the restricted room?" She hesitated too long. Rex stepped closer, sniffing the air around her. His ears pinned back, tail rigid, a silent alert. Daniels recognized it immediately. "Rex smells something on you," he said. "Something connected to that stash we found." The nurse's knees wavered. She looked down, refusing to meet his eyes. I don't know what's going on." Daniels lowered his voice. "Someone used their access to run an illegal operation here. Someone stole medication, forged patient IDs, and moved contraband through this hospital. If you're involved, even a little, we need to know now." Tears filled her eyes. She shook her head violently, almost collapsing under the weight of her fear. "I didn't steal anything. I swear. I never touched those drugs." Rex suddenly barked again, louder this time. The nurse covered her ears, shaking uncontrollably. "Please, make him stop. He scares me." "He's not trying to scare you," Daniel said. "He's trying to tell us something." Rex sniffed her sleeve, then gave a low whine. Daniels frowned. That wasn't aggression. That was confusion and recognition. "You handled something recently," Daniel said. "Something from that room." The nurse's face cracked. "I didn't know what was inside," she cried out. I just moved a box. A small one. I was told it was medical recycling. I didn't know it was illegal." "Who told you to move it?" Daniels pressed gently. Her lips trembled. She looked over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear from the shadows. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "It was a doctor." "Which doctor?" She hesitated again, this time with pure terror, not guilt. Her hands gripped her scrubs, knuckles white. "If I tell you," she said, shaking, "I won't be safe. None of us will." Daniel stepped closer, his voice steady. "You are safe. Rex is here. We're here. But we need the truth." Her tears finally spilled over. "It was Dr. Harlow," she whispered. The officers froze. Dr. Harlow, the respected physician, praised by patients, trusted by staff, the one no one ever suspected. Rex growled deep in his chest. The truth had finally cracked open, and the real threat had a name. The moment the nurse whispered Dr. Harlow, the hallway seemed to tilt. Even the air felt heavier, thicker, like the entire building exhaled in disbelief. Officer Daniels blinked slowly, trying to process her words. "Dr. Harlow," he repeated, almost unable to hear himself say it. "Are you absolutely sure?" She nodded through trembling breaths. "I didn't want to believe it either, but yes. He's the one who told me to move the box. He said it was hospital waste being transferred to another facility." She wiped her eyes. "I trusted him." Daniels exchanged a stunned look with the other officers. Dr. Harlow wasn't just any physician. He was the hospital's star trauma doctor. Award-winning, calm under pressure, loved by patients, respected by staff. The kind of man who worked late shifts to cover for younger doctors. The last person anyone would accuse of criminal activity. Rex paced, restless, his nails clicking sharply against the floor. Every few seconds, he stopped to sniff the air, nose twitching as if trying to locate the man behind the deception. The young security officer shook his head in disbelief. "This can't be right. Dr. Harlow saves lives. He's the one everyone trusts." "Exactly why no one would suspect him," Daniels said quietly. The nurse looked up, guilt filling her expression. "I didn't know what he was really doing. But when I saw the dog, when Rex reacted, I understood. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong." Daniels placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing by telling us." But inside his mind raced. If Dr. Harlow was the mastermind, how much danger were they all in? Suddenly, Rex lifted his head sharply. His ears pricked forward, body stilling with laser focus. Then, without warning, he bolted down the hallway, barking furiously. "Rex!" Daniels shouted, immediately sprinting after him. "He's onto something." They chased the dog through the maze of dim corridors until he skidded to a halt in front of another restricted door, the entrance to the staff-only surgical supply room. Rex snarled, scratching at the bottom of the door with urgency. The officers caught up, breathless. The tall security officer swiped his keycard. The light blinked red. "Someone locked it from the inside," he said. Manually. Daniel's heartbeat accelerated. "He's in there." Rex barked again, louder this time, tail rigid. Daniels nodded to the officers. "Force it." Together, they slammed their shoulders into the door until the lock cracked and the door flew open. The smell inside was sharp, chemical, cold, sterile. Racks of surgical supplies lined the walls. But what caught their eyes wasn't the equipment. It was the desk in the corner, and the man standing beside it. Dr. Ethan Harlow, still in his white coat, hands gloved, expression calm, but his eyes burned with a mixture of fear and calculation. "Officers," he said smoothly, as if greeting them for a routine meeting. "Is something wrong?" Rex growled violently, pulling hard against his leash, ready to lunge. Daniels stepped forward. "We found evidence, Doctor. A storage room full of stolen medication, forged prescriptions, altered patient IDs, and your access card." Harlow's jaw tightened. For a split second, a flicker of something dark crossed his eyes. Then he exhaled slowly, almost sadly. "I suppose," he murmured, "the dog was smarter than I expected." Daniel's blood ran cold. "So it's true?" he asked. Harlow's expression shifted. No remorse, no denial. Only a chilling calm. "You have no idea how much money flows through a place like this," he said. "People don't value what they don't see. Supplies get wasted, medications discarded. I simply redirected them." Rex barked explosively, every hair on his back standing up. Daniel stepped closer, anger rising. "You endangered patients. You stole identities. You put lives at risk." Harlow shrugged. Collateral damage. The words hit harder than any confession. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a man who had built a criminal empire inside a hospital and felt nothing for the lives affected. Rex snarled again, louder, fiercer. And Daniels knew. This confrontation was only beginning. For a moment, no one spoke. The officers stood frozen, trying to comprehend the scale of what Dr. Harlow had just admitted. Rex growled again, inching closer as Daniels forced himself to stay calm. "Start talking," Daniels ordered. "How long have you been doing this?" Dr. Harlow sighed, almost disappointed rather than afraid. He motioned casually toward the shelves of surgical supplies surrounding them. "Long enough to refine it," he said. "Hospitals are oceans of inventory. Thousands of items flow in and out every day. No one notices when a few vials disappear here and there." He walked toward the desk, his gloved hands hovering over carefully stacked folders. It started small. A mislabeled box, a few unused narcotics from canceled procedures. Things no one bothered to check twice. The younger officer narrowed his eyes. And then, Harlow smiled faintly. Then I realized how easy it was. He opened a folder full of patient logs, names crossed out and rewritten. I created duplicate patient profiles. People admitted under real names, but with altered details. Enough to request medications without raising suspicion. Daniels felt his stomach twist. "But you needed someone inside the system." Harlow nodded. "Nurses, assistants, people who trusted me. I told them the transfers were routine. I assured them the disposal boxes contained expired supplies." His voice lowered. "They believed me." A nurse standing behind Daniels gasped softly, realization dawning on her face. Harlow continued, voice disturbingly calm. "From there, it became a network. Fake prescriptions fed into pharmacy orders. Unregistered vials swapped into legitimate storage. Patient IDs scraped and rewritten." He lifted one of the stolen cards between his fingers. "Identity is flexible when you're the one filling out the paperwork." "And the money?" Daniels asked. Harlow's eyes darkened. "Distributed off-site. Buyers paid for high-demand medication that could vanish without immediate detection." Rex barked sharply, sensing the rising tension. Daniels clenched his jaw. People could have died. Patients needed these supplies. Harlow met his gaze with chilling indifference. "Hospitals waste thousands of dollars in unused medication every month. I simply repurposed it." "That's not repurposing," the tall officer snapped. "It's theft and fraud and endangering lives." Harlow's lips curved slightly. "Call it whatever you want. It worked." Daniels stepped closer, anger shaking through him. "How far were you planning to take this?" Harlow's expression flickered, something like annoyance. "As far as I could, before someone smart enough intervened." His eyes dropped to Rex. "The dog ruined more than a year of work." Rex snarled, baring his teeth. Daniels shook his head slowly. "You underestimated him." Harlow scoffed. "He carried evidence straight to you." "I didn't underestimate him. I miscalculated his loyalty." Daniels exhaled sharply. "Your operation ends here." Harlow lifted his hands in mock surrender. "If you say so." But something in his voice, calm, confident, sent a chill down Daniels' spine. This wasn't over. Not yet. Before Daniels could respond to Dr. Harlow's chilling confidence, a frantic voice echoed down the hallway. "Officer, officer, please come quick." A nurse sprinted toward them, panic written across her face. Her cheeks were flushed, her hands trembling. "It's a patient, room 314. Something's wrong. Her vitals are crashing." Daniels froze. "A patient? Now." Rex barked sharply, sensing urgency, and took off toward the room before anyone else could react. Daniels and the officers followed, rushing through the corridor as alarms began to blare overhead. When they burst into room 314, chaos was unfolding. A middle-aged woman lay on the bed, her skin pale, her breathing shallow. Two nurses hovered over her, desperate but confused. "We administered her medication 10 minutes ago," one nurse cried. "But she's reacting like it was the wrong dose, or the wrong drug entirely." Daniel's stomach clenched. "Which medication?" he demanded. The nurse held up a vial. identical to the ones found on the metal cart. Rex growled the moment he saw it. Daniels grabbed the vial, inspecting the faded label. "This has been tampered with," he muttered. "The seal's been broken and reattached." Dr. Harlow appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. One of the nurses turned to him, panic rising. "Doctor, we followed your chart. You prescribed this medication." Harlow lifted a shoulder. "I prescribed dozens of treatments. Mistakes happen." Daniel spun around. "Mistakes? This woman is dying." Rex barked fiercely, stepping between the patient and Harlow, as if protecting her. A monitor beeped wildly, her heart rate plummeting. "Get a crash cart," a nurse screamed. "Now." Daniels felt his pulse hammering. "She was never supposed to receive this drug, was she?" he said, staring at Harlow. "You swapped the labels. You diluted the medication. She got a vial meant for your black market buyers." Harlow didn't flinch. "She's just one patient in a system of thousands," he replied coldly. The nurse gasped, horrified. "How can you say that?" Rex snarled, teeth bared. Paramedics rushed in, pushing the officers aside. "Clear," one shouted. The woman's body jerked from the shock. For agonizing seconds, the room held its breath. Then, a weak but steady beep returned on the monitor. "She's stabilizing," a paramedic breathed in relief. Daniels exhaled shakily. Rex lowered his head slightly, tail still stiff, sensing the danger wasn't gone. Harlow sighed, almost annoyed. "Unfortunate timing," he murmured. Daniels turned toward him slowly. "No," he said, voice steady with fury. "This wasn't unfortunate timing. This was attempted murder." Rex growled in agreement, and the full gravity of Harlow's crimes settled over the room like a shadow. The room pulsed with adrenaline. Nurses steadied the recovering patient, paramedics checked monitors, and officers surrounded Dr. Harlow, who remained disturbingly calm despite the chaos unfolding around him. Rex, however, wasn't finished, not even close. His ears twitched. His nose lifted. Something in the air caught him. Something faint, hidden, dangerous. Before Daniels could speak, Rex spun abruptly and bolted out the door. "Rex, where are you going?" Daniels called, rushing after him. Rex didn't slow. He tore down the hallway, past wide-eyed nurses and startled officers, his body low to the ground, nose guiding him like a compass. Whatever he sensed wasn't random. This was purpose. This was urgency. He skidded to a stop outside an administrative office at the far end of the wing. The plaque on the door read, "Dr. Ethan Harlow, Senior Trauma Specialist." Rex growled, pressing his paw against the bottom crack of the door. Daniels exchanged a glance with the officers. He hid something in his office. The tall officer tried the handle. Locked. Rex barked sharply, clawing at the door with frantic determination. "Force it," Daniels ordered. A single powerful shove cracked the frame, and the door swung open. Papers rustled in the sudden airflow. The office looked ordinary at first glance. Neat desk, framed certificates, family photos, a wall of medical books. But Rex ignored all of it. He headed straight for a small drawer in the corner filing cabinet. He sniffed it once, twice, then pawed hard, whining sharply. Daniels knelt down. "You found something, boy. Let's see what it is." He pulled the drawer open. Inside lay a black notebook, thick and worn, its pages bulging with handwritten entries. On top of it sat a flash drive marked "Only" with a red sticker. Daniels flipped open the notebook. His heart dropped. Inside were columns of numbers, payments, dates, coded shipments, names of off-site buyers, lists of altered patient IDs, even delivery routes disguised as standard hospital transfers. A full ledger of the illegal operation. "This is the entire network," Daniels whispered. "Every transaction, every partner." The young officer stared at the flash drive. "And that probably contains the digital records." Rex barked once, sharp and satisfied. Daniels looked at him with awe. "You didn't just find the evidence. You found the proof we needed to bring the whole operation down." Rex's tail lifted slightly, his version of a proud smile. Behind them, Dr. Harlow appeared in the doorway, escorted by two officers. His eyes landed on the drawer, and for the first time, his mask cracked. Fear. Daniels held up the notebook. "It's over, doctor. Rex found everything." And for the first time, Harlow had no words. The hallway outside Dr. Harlow's office filled with officers, nurses, and staff whispering in shock. Word spread quickly. Evidence had been found, patients endangered, and a respected doctor exposed as a criminal mastermind. Yet in the middle of the chaos, Rex stood calm and steady, positioned between Daniels and Harlow like a silent guardian. Two officers approached, securing Harlow's wrists in metal cuffs. For the first time, he didn't resist. But his eyes scanned the scene with bitterness. At Rex, at Daniels, at the hospital that had unknowingly sheltered his crimes. Daniels held up the black notebook and the flash drive. This ends everything you built." Harlow's lips twitched, almost into a smile. "Ends? Detective, you underestimate how many people rely on operations like mine. Cut off one branch, two more grow." Rex growled sharply, stepping forward as if challenging him. Daniels glared. "You endangered innocent lives. You nearly killed a patient today." Harlow's expression flickered, just for a moment, perhaps guilt, perhaps annoyance, before fading into cold detachment. "Collateral damage," he repeated quietly. "The world keeps turning." A nurse nearby flinched at his words. She looked at Daniels, tears welling in her eyes. How could someone do this? We trusted him. Patients trusted him. Daniels placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like heroes, until someone brave enough exposes them. His gaze drifted to Rex. Rex wagged his tail once, slow but proud. The officers began escorting Harlow down the hallway. As they passed the nurse's station, staff members stepped back, horrified and silent. The illusion of the brilliant doctor shattered with every step he took toward the exit. One of the patient's family members recognized him and gasped. "Dr. Harlow? What happened?" Harlow didn't answer, but Daniels did. He was stealing medication, altering patient identities, running a dangerous black market operation right here in the hospital. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Daniels added quietly, "And Rex is the reason we found him." Harlow shot one last glare at the dog. A single animal ruined everything. Daniel's jaw tightened. "No, your greed did." As Harlow was taken outside, flashing red and blue lights washed over the walls. Reporters were already gathering, microphones raised, cameras rolling. The story was spreading like wildfire. But inside the hospital, a different atmosphere settled. Relief mixed with heartbreak. Nurses approached Rex, some tearful, some grateful. One knelt down and stroked his fur gently. "Good boy, you saved lives today." Rex leaned into her touch, calm and humble, as if unaware of the magnitude of what he had done. The nurse from earlier, the one who had unknowingly moved contraband, stepped forward too, eyes red. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never thought he could be capable of this." Daniels reassured her softly. "You were manipulated. That ends now." As the officers loaded Harlow into the squad car outside, Rex sat beside Daniels, watching. His ears flicked, his gaze firm, almost as if he understood justice had finally been served. The door slammed shut. The sirens wailed. And just like that, the hospital exhaled for the first time all day. The hospital slowly returned to its rhythm, steady footsteps, soft beeping monitors, whispered conversations. But the atmosphere had changed. Shadows of fear and betrayal were replaced with relief, gratitude, and admiration for one unexpected hero, Rex. He walked calmly alongside Officer Daniels through the hallway, his posture relaxed now that the danger had passed. Nurses paused to smile at him. Patients waved from their beds. Even exhausted doctors nodded respectfully as he passed. A German shepherd with a black garbage bag had started chaos and ended corruption. When they reached room 314, the woman who had nearly died was awake, pale but stable. Her daughter sat beside her, clutching her mother's hand tightly. Daniels hesitated, but Rex gently nudged the door open with his nose. The daughter gasped softly when she saw him. "That's the dog who saved my mom." Daniels nodded. Yes. Rex figured out something was wrong before anyone else. The woman, weak but aware, reached out slowly. Rex stepped closer, lowering his head so she could rest her trembling hand on his fur. Tears welled in her eyes. "Thank you for giving me another chance." Rex leaned gently against her arm, as if accepting her gratitude with quiet dignity. Daniels felt something tighten in his chest. Moments like this reminded him why K-9 officers were more than partners. They were protectors, listeners, and silent heroes. As they walked back toward the main entrance, hospital staff lined the hallway. A spontaneous round of applause erupted. Some clapped proudly, others wiped away tears. Rex's ears perked at the sudden noise, but he stayed close to Daniels, tail swaying gently. The head nurse stepped forward and knelt. "On behalf of this entire hospital," she said, voice thick with emotion, "thank you, Rex. You saved lives today, more than we'll ever fully understand." She placed a small metal-shaped badge on his collar, engraved with the words, "Hospital Hero." Rex blinked once, then let out a soft huff of approval. Outside, cameras flashed, reporters shouted questions, and officers secured the area now buzzing with media attention. But Rex didn't care about the noise. He looked only at Daniels, waiting for the next instruction, the next moment where he could serve. Daniels knelt beside him and scratched behind his ear. "You did good today, buddy. Better than any of us." Rex's tail wagged gently. As they walked toward the patrol car, the sun dipped low, washing the scene in warm golden light. Daniels paused, taking in the moment, the applause fading behind them, the sirens quiet now, the hospital safe once more. He glanced down at Rex, who sat proudly by his side. "A dog carrying a garbage bag," Daniels murmured. "Who would have thought that would expose a criminal network?" Rex tilted his head, as if amused. Daniels chuckled softly. "Come on, partner. Let's go home." The camera fades out on Rex's steady stride beside his handler. Loyal, brave, forever watchful. This story reminds us that true heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they walk on four paws, guided by instinct, loyalty, and courage. Rex proved that even in places built on trust, wrongdoing can hide in plain sight. His bravery teaches us that speaking up, staying alert, and questioning the unusual can save lives. It also shows the importance of integrity in every profession. One person's greed nearly cost innocent lives, but one dog's unwavering dedication protected an entire community. Let this story inspire us to value honesty, protect the vulnerable, and trust our instincts when something feels wrong. And most importantly, recognize the silent heroes around us, whether human or animal, who make the world safer every day. If this story touched your heart, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to support more meaningful and inspiring stories like this one.